The Miami Heat stink. I think it's just clear, and I think what we've seen over the last 2-3 weeks is much more of a clear picture of this team rather than what we saw in the first month and a half of the year. Because Miami started the year 14-7, but over their last 9 games, they're 1-8, and now they're 500, 15-15 on the year. Listen, when you watch this team, they are unable to consistently make threes. They are unable to defend at a consistent rate. Their defense on the perimeter has been really, really bad. All they do is get targeted and pick and rolls to get switches where their big men ultimately get on our guards, our big men get on their guards and wings, and we are unable to stay in front. And it just puts our defense in rotation, allows the opponent to get open looks, and then it gets us out of rotation as well, which allows them to get offensive rebounds. It has been really bad in Miami. I think it was shown last night in the loss against the Raptors at home by 20 points. It's just been a train wreck, and we got to talk about potentially shaking up this roster with a trade between now and the trade deadline. So let's get into it. I am Nick Roloff. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports. We are 6 weeks and 1 day away from the NBA trade deadline, Thursday, February 5th, and there is a lot to discuss on a potential Giannis deal, trading away our own players like Andrew Wiggins and Norman Powell, plus an underrated trade target Miami may be interested in. We'll get into all of it today, but we're going to start with Giannis Antetokounmpo because NBA insider Marc Stein reporting on the Milwaukee Bucks, saying that no matter how many times Giannis or anyone associated with the Bucks attempts to convince the public that there's no active trade discussions involving him, you will still routinely hear a team or two that there is going to be a change in that belief in January, aka wait until we get 2-3 weeks until the deadline in mid-January. All right, maybe then Giannis potentially requests a trade and discussions start to take place. But I think this is also important to remember that the Bucks are not going to trade away Giannis just for the fun of it. They are actively looking to improve their roster. Milwaukee is 12-18. They have not been good, but Giannis has been out with an injury. And until Antetokounmpo comes to the Bucks organization and says, "I don't want to be here. I want to be traded," they are going to find a way to upgrade the roster to make Giannis happy in Milwaukee and make a playoff push in a relatively open Eastern Conference. And if you're looking at this from the lens of Miami, I truly think that the way they should approach the deadline is Giannis or bust. And what do I mean by that? Well, I think they should hold out, wait, and see if they could have an Antetokounmpo trade fall in their laps because Miami's package could be appealing with a Ware, Hero, multiple first-round picks, maybe some other young guys as well. And if Giannis wants to come to Milwaukee, it could be something that gets done relatively, I wouldn't say quick, but it could get done soon. But he's got to request a trade. And if that doesn't happen, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, well, the Heat roster currently is not good enough to win the NBA Finals. So they should either look to add someone else or maybe trade away some players and prioritize the future, because who else is out there that would make Miami title contenders that isn't Giannis Antetokounmpo? I think the answer is absolutely no one. So with the interest reported around the league in Andrew Wiggins, maybe Miami should explore a potential Wiggins trade. Brett Siegel reporting, and this has been pretty commonly reported over the last month or so, that Milwaukee is a team that actually is interested in Andrew Wiggins, and not in the capacity of, oh, we'll trade Giannis for Andrew Wiggins and other things. No, they would like to add Wiggins to Miles Turner and Giannis Antetokounmpo in the front court. Now, Siegel also reporting doesn't know if Miami would make Wiggins available in a trade that doesn't land them a all-star or all-NBA level player. But I will come out and say Miami needs to change that thought process if they have it already. Andrew Wiggins needs to go. And I don't want to put all of the blame that the Heat have been playing poorly on Andrew Wiggins, but I certainly believe he has been one of the largest driving factors in Miami's struggles over the last 9 games. And I'll explain why here in just 1 second. But we haven't hit 200 likes on a video in weeks. The bosses are asking me to get more likes on the show. Help me out. Let's hit that thumbs up icon and get over 200 today. You look at what Andrew Wiggins has done throughout the year, and the raw stats aren't going to be jumping off of the page and telling you, oh my God, this guy's awful. Because when you look at his field goal percentage, he has been relatively efficient, right? He's not asked to do a ton. He's more or less just a nice rotation piece because they don't run the offense through him. They run it more or less through Bam, Norman Powell, and they have that isolation style where they drive, kick, rotate, cut, and just try it over and over and over again. But the issue is, with this new offense, it doesn't fit Andrew Wiggins because what does this offense prioritize? An ability to take your defender off the dribble in isolation settings and then kick it out or finish off the dribble. What is Andrew Wiggins good at? None of that. Wiggins is not someone who can create off the dribble. He has a sloppy handle. He turns the ball over 1.8 times per night, and that is more than half of his assists. He averaged 2.8 assists, turns the ball over 1.8 times a game. His style of offense is not where Wiggins thrives. Wiggins is an off-ball shooter, an off-ball cutter, and an offensive rebounder, which he can do that at times in this offense. But if he gets the ball swung to him with 8 on the shot clock, nothing ever good comes of it because it's either a contested three, a contested mid-range, or a turnover. So I just think Wiggins doesn't fit in this offense, and unless you're changing the offense, I think Wiggins can't thrive here. And he's dragging Miami down. When you look at the Heat net rating with him on to off the court this year, it's staggering. Miami's in negative 2.8 net rating with Andrew Wiggins on this team. But when he's on the bench, Miami is a plus 4.6. It has been clear that Miami has been a better team this season when Andrew Wiggins is off the floor in his 16 to 20 minutes of rest on a nightly basis. So to me, the evidence just continues to stack and stack and stack against Andrew Wiggins. I mean, you think about this as well. How about this? We talk about how bad the starting lineup has been. Andrew Wiggins, Kel'el Ware, Bam Adebayo, Norman Powell, Davion Mitchell. After the night game against the Raptors, that 5-man group is a negative 15 rating. Horrible. But with him off of the floor, and granted it's only been about 27 minutes, very limited sample size, the 4-man unit of Bam, Ware, Davion, and Powell is a plus 48.9 net rating. I mean, think about that difference. Plus 48.9 in a very limited sample size to negative 15. Like I said, I don't want to blame it all on Andrew Wiggins, but the evidence is there that he's dragging this Heat team down. So, with him not being the best fit in this new style of offense with Miami, where could he ultimately end up? Well, I think the Milwaukee Bucks are a suitor, as we've seen some of these rumors and reports. And then you have to take it back to the offseason as well, when the Los Angeles Lakers showed a lot of interest. And there was discussions had around the NBA draft revolving Andrew Wiggins between Miami and Los Angeles. I think a avenue to a trade with both teams, I think, are relatively simple. It's just all about if Miami is willing to trade Wiggins away and what the other teams are willing to offer. Because to me, Wiggins is a good player with another year left on his contract. So even though he has not been good in Miami, I think he's still someone that could earn a first-round pick in return and help a team in a different style. And if you are making a deal with the Milwaukee Bucks, I think it's a very easy trade avenue. They don't like Kyle Kuzma. He has been a disaster for them. And I think Miami could be a perfect place for Kuzma, as Miami might be heading towards more of a youth movement. Kyle Kuzma has 1 year left on his deal. Andrew Wiggins has one more year on his deal. Kuzma's making $19 million. Andrew Wiggins is making $31 million. So in next year, that is, not this year. It's $22 million and $28 million this year, respectively. Miami would be saving money this year and next year, and they could get a first-round pick out of it. The Bucks, desperate to try to please Giannis, add another person in that front court, making it Wiggins, Miles Turner, and Giannis in that front court. And you could get a first-round pick swap in 2026 this year, which is the least favorable of Atlanta, Milwaukee, and New Orleans. So likely would be the Hawks pick or the Bucks pick in all likelihood. Not New Orleans, obviously. They're going to be in the top 10. So to me, this is a deal from Miami's perspective that I would absolutely make. But then there's the Lakers trade that could potentially go down. And I think this one makes a ton of sense for both sides. Instead of getting Dalton Connect, Rui Hachimura, and Gabe Vincent, and a first-round pick, they keep Connect. You get Rui, Vincent, and a first-round pick in 2031, and you throw in Drew Smith in the deal. Why would Miami do this? Well, you get a roster spot available to allow Kasparas Jakubonis to get more minutes as that lead guard off of the bench. Gabe Vincent could fill in that third guard spot that has been filled by Jakubonis or Plo Larson throughout the year so far. You get $29 million in expiring salary with Hachimura and Vincent, which could help you in the offseason with flexibility, and you get a future first-round pick. I think both deals would make a lot of sense to get you a first-round pick this year or in the future, but also save you money now and in the future as well. I think both deals are intriguing and ones that I would certainly sought or go after if this was something that was on the table. So let me know, which Wiggins trade would you prefer? If both of them were on the table, which one would you accept? MIL for the Bucks package, where you get Kuzma and a first in this year's draft, or Lakers, where you get expiring salary and then a first-round pick in 2031. The point I'm trying to make right now, though, is that if Miami continues to play 500 basketball and lose, and it looks like they're going to be in the play-in for the fourth consecutive year, the priority should be moving Andrew Wiggins for expiring money and draft capital. Because what is his purpose on this team if he's dragging you down, and why would you hold on to him when he's going to opt into his $31 million contract in 2026, 27, and just sink you again? It just isn't ideal for me. And I would also think about trading Norman Powell too. I got to be honest. I think Norman Powell is a player that I could absolutely see being dealt before the February 5th trade deadline. And I'll explain why here in just 1 second. But today's episode is sponsored by PrizePicks. It's the holiday season, and everybody's favorite holiday promotion is back. 7 days of Picksmas. PrizePicks giving out 7 days of deal all the way through Christmas Day, including a Christmas Day max discount. Picksmas started on December 20th, so download the app and unwrap those deals, especially when there's so many decisions to be made, what gifts to buy, what to eat. There's only one place where it feels good to be right, and that is PrizePicks. There's no feature alert, by the way. Early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. I got some Christmas Day football action already dialed up on PrizePicks. More than Dak Prescott passing yards against the Commanders. More than Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdowns against the Vikings. And I'm going to go with a big one as the nightcap. A little star on the top of the tree, if you will. More than R.J. Harvey, 1.5 touchdowns against the Kansas City Chiefs. Join me and the millions of others on PrizePicks. Download the app and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Would it be smart to trade Norman Powell? I have been saying this over the last couple of weeks. I think it's become abundantly clear, even with Tyler Hero out of the lineup. Powell and Hero only played 6 games together when Hero's been on the floor. I actually think it's been less than that because I think Norman Powell missed one of those games that Hero played in. But there isn't a future for both Tyler Hero and Norman Powell in Miami. Miami doesn't need 2 shooting guards or 2 combo guards that play below average defense and are volume scorers and do most of their work from the perimeter. Especially when Norman Powell's projected to be a free agent this offseason. Tyler Hero was bypassed on an extension this past offseason, is going to be asking for one this offseason. So you're going to have to pick one to extend if you want to keep one of them in Miami long term. And to me, if you're going to trade one of them, I do think it should be Norman Powell because he's having a phenomenal year this season, right? 23 points, 40% from the three-point arc. Like, it's been a really strong season for Powell. He should borderline be an all-star in the Eastern Conference this season. But he is way older than Tyler Hero. Hero's 25. Norman Powell in his 30s. He is not under contract next year. Tyler Hero at least is. And I know you would probably get more in return for Tyler Hero in a trade. But if you had to ask me which one I should trade, I should absolutely be picking the older veteran in Norman Powell. where you can flip him for maybe a first-round pick to a team that desperately needs to add shooting and scoring to help them in their playoff race. And you're asking who could be the potential suitors. I'll put Milwaukee back on this list. I think, and no joke, that if Milwaukee actually wanted to make a deal with Miami to add someone to that roster, they should be targeting Norman Powell before they target Andrew Wiggins. And I get it, Wiggins is better defensively, but that Milwaukee team really struggles scoring the basketball outside of Giannis. I think a Norman Powell two-man game with Giannis would be very fun. You have a three-man trio of Powell, Giannis, and Miles Turner. I think Milwaukee should be more inclined to offer Kuzma and that first-round pick in 2026 for Powell over Andrew Wiggins, in my opinion. Especially if it doesn't work out, you don't have to re-sign and pay him next year because Powell's a free agent. I think Houston could be interested in another scoring guard. They have kind of hit a little bit of a rocky road lately. Minnesota's an intriguing team to monitor. And Memphis, who got off to a horrid start, but they're playing much better as of late. In a open Western Conference outside of OKC, could Memphis think they make a push? Potential. Like, I think you could get a first-round pick for Norman Powell. Now, do I think it would be a good first-round pick? No, I think it would be heavily protected. I think it would be along the same lines as the lottery-protected pick you got from Golden State a year ago, which ultimately turned into Kasparas Jakučionis. Like, I think you could absolutely get a first-round pick from Milwaukee in that pick swap, or maybe Minnesota or Houston, where it's top 14 protected. And if it ends up in the mid-20s or early 20s, it goes to Miami, which I think the Heat should still think about doing, because you add draft capital to help your trade package in the future, or you are able to add another young player in the draft, because this team needs to add a lot of young talent as it just continues to teeter-totter in that mid-500 kind of range. We'll have all the Heat trade rumors leading up to the deadline that is 6 weeks away, so hit that sub button and lock us in, and you know we'll be live on NBA trade deadline day as well, so hit that sub button. All right, we'll stop talking about trading players away and quickly mention someone Miami may be targeting. Sean Devaney of Heavy.com reported that the Lakers, Knicks, Magic, Heat, and Trailblazers have interest in Sacramento guard Keon Ellis, which is really surprising to me, because when you think about what Ellis excels at in the NBA, it is his defense. He is a rebounding defensive guard, and you've seen that in Sacramento. It hasn't been pretty offensively for the former Alabama Crimson Tide guard. And he's had some good years in the past where he shot the ball efficient from beyond the arc, but he makes his living in the NBA by his ability to defend and be a pest for that Kings defense. But the issue that I'm seeing and potentially trading for Keon Ellis is that why would Miami target him? He is just cut from the same exact cloth that Drew Smith is. Like, what does Keon Ellis do? Exactly what Drew Smith does for this Heat team. Handle a little bit. Be a pest and point of attack defender. Get on the glass and help the big men at times. They already have that. Like, is Keon Ellis better than Drew Smith? I don't even think so. Like, Drew Smith has been relatively fine this year. He's been frustrating at times for sure, but he's also had some really good games for Miami this year. I just don't see why Miami would show interest in Keon Ellis. This, to me, is not a report that I would find very credible. I don't really sound to be, I don't want to sound mean, but I don't just believe that Miami would be interested in Keon Ellis, because they have Keon Ellis at home in Drew Smith, and both of them do the same exact thing, and Drew Smith might even be better. That'll do it for today's show. If more trade rumors arise or a trade actually goes down, we will have you updated on Twitter before we come up here and make a video. So go follow me today at Nick_Roloff.